Well, speaking of Gilbert, in the description of Winnie West, he's a hero who's mesmerized by the heroine. And that honestly, like my first thought was like Gilbert Blythe. So, so tell me about, I guess, what gets you going when writing a hero?
Sure. I think I always love an intelligent hero. I think probably because my husband's a professor, I'm like, ooh, smart man, yeah. But also like intelligence is relative, and I fully acknowledge that and will embrace that in different characters, right? It doesn't have to just be book smarts. I also really like a male lead who takes care of someone. It could be a family member, it could be, hopefully the heroine as well, but I think that that ability to show love, even if they're not ready to say it, is something that I crave when I'm reading or when I'm writing a story. And going back to that idea of like Mac being mesmerized by Winnie, I think I want all of the men just to be totally knocked off their socks by these women. These are rebellious ladies. They're a little ahead of their time. They're pushing buttons. They're trying to go to school. They're getting jobs. They're changing clothing. They're voting in marching in the streets, all of these things. And I don't want a guy that says, "Oh, look here, little lady, maybe you shouldn't be doing that." I want them to say, "Wow, look at her. Like, that's amazing." And I just want them to be impressed. Maybe they don't know why they're impressed. Maybe it terrifies them or they, actively fight against it. But I would not be surprised if most of my male characters end up falling first, just because I love that trope so much.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and the other thing from this scene that stood out to me was how great of an apology this he delivered. And like I had an emotional release as he was delivering that apology to Winnie. And there's this trope of the grovel in the
Yeah.
historical romance, which I think usually comes towards the end of the book. But do you have, I don't know that I have a specific question around this, but so I'm going to give you a very formless question and you can take it however you want. But how do you think about apologies slash groveling in your
Yeah,
books?
good question. I mean, with regards to Mac, he's caught between a rock and a hard place. He's working at his uncle's newspaper. He's waiting to inherit. His uncle says, "I'll give it to you if you do XYZ," which is kind of how he and Winnie get set up against each other, right? He thinks he needs to do this. So he puts his foot in his mouth several times in this story, some more egregious than others. And he always realizes what he's done or he tries to make up for it. And obviously there is a bigger grovel towards the end. And I think just they need to be authentic. I think they need to come from a real place. Like in this part that I read, Winnie's not sure if it's to save face or not, but it feels authentic. And I think that's what I want to see in a grovel. It's not just pretty words. I mean, those are always great. We want to hear the pretty words, but we also want to see it backed up by action, by what comes next. So, yeah, I guess I just want that evidence that you really mean it. Like what do you do next?